What would you do if you discovered your husband's affair through your own surveillance system? Maya thought that was the worst betrayal until she realized he'd been planning to steal her father's billion-dollar company for 5 years. Using deepfake technology, fabricated evidence, and even poison, Brandon Sterling orchestrated the perfect crime. But he made one fatal mistake. He underestimated a NASA engineer's daughter who had been quietly preparing for this war her entire life. This is the story of how Maya Carter Sterling watched her husband marry his mistress, then took the microphone at their wedding reception as the secret majority shareholder. What happened next shocked 300 wedding guests and 2.8 million livestream viewers worldwide. Stay with me, because this revenge story will redefine everything you think you know about power, justice, and the price of underestimating the quiet ones. Maya's story proves that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's building something so powerful that your enemies destroy themselves trying to steal it. If this story of quiet strength and strategic brilliance resonated with you, show some love with them, like it helps more people discover these incredible true-life dramas. Drop a comment telling me what you would have done in Maya's situation. And don't forget to share this with someone who needs to hear that real power comes from preparation, not destruction. Subscribe and hit that notification bell because next week, I'm bringing you another jaw-dropping story of justice served cold. Until then, remember, never underestimate the quiet ones. They're usually planning something extraordinary. Maya Carter Sterling stared at her computer screen in her home office, watching her marriage implode in real time. The AI surveillance system she had secretly installed in Sterling Industries was designed to protect corporate secrets, not expose personal betrayals. But there on her monitor was her husband Brandon, the company's CEO, with Jessica Thornton, their head of digital marketing, in what was supposedly a closed-door board meeting. God, Maya is so boring. Jessica's voice came through crystal clear as she straddled Brandon's desk chair. How did you stand being married to that robot for 15 years? Brandon laughed, his hands wandering where they had no business being. The prenup runs out next month. After the divorce, I'll have full control of Sterling Industries, and you'll be the new Mrs. Sterling. Maya's blood turned to ice. Sterling Industries was her father's legacy, built from his NASA engineering patents. She had trusted Brandon with everything: her heart, her father's company, her future, and he was planning to steal it all. Jessica pulled out her phone, angling it for a perfect selfie with Brandon in the background. My followers are going to lose their minds when I announce this. 2.3 million people following our love story. Just remember, Brandon warned, nothing public until after the divorce papers are signed. Maya thinks she's getting half of everything, but my lawyers found some interesting loopholes. Maya screenshotted everything, her hands shaking as she documented her husband's betrayal. 15 years of marriage, and she was just an obstacle to remove. But Brandon had underestimated her. He always had. The irony wasn't lost on her. She had built the surveillance system to protect against corporate espionage, never imagining she would need protection from her own husband. The AI algorithms were designed to detect unusual patterns and behaviors. Tonight, they had detected the most unusual pattern of all: the systematic destruction of her life. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father. Marcus. How's my brilliant daughter today? Remember, real power isn't always visible. Marcus Carter had always spoken in riddles, especially since retiring from NASA. But Maya was beginning to understand that her father saw more than he let on. Marcus had built Sterling Industries, from government defense contracts and cutting-edge space technology. He had trained Maya in both engineering and business, always emphasizing that preparation was everything. Maya closed her laptop and walked to her father's study, where he kept his old NASA files and Sterling Industries documents. If Brandon wanted to play games with prenups and legal loopholes, she needed to understand exactly what she was fighting for. In the filing cabinet, she found folders labeled with dates going back 20 years. Her father's meticulous handwriting covered page after page of stock purchases, patent applications, and legal documents. But one folder made her heart stop. It was labeled Maya's insurance policy and dated just 6 months ago. Inside were documents showing shell companies, trust funds, and stock transfers that she had never seen before. Her father hadn't just built Sterling Industries, he had been systematically buying it back through offshore entities and patent licensing deals. The final document was a letter in her father's handwriting. My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, then Brandon has shown his true colors. I've spent 20 years protecting our family's legacy. The patents that built Sterling Industries were never sold, they were licensed. Every government contract, every defense system, every dollar of profit flows through technology that belongs to the Carter family. You don't just work for Sterling Industries. Sweetheart, you own it. Maya's hands trembled as she read the stock ownership documents. Through a complex web of trusts and licensing agreements, she owned 52.3% of Sterling Industries. She was the majority shareholder of the company her husband planned to steal. Brandon thought he was playing chess while she was playing checkers. But Maya Carter Sterling had been preparing for this game her entire life, and she had learned from the master himself. 3 days later, Maya sat in her car outside Sterling Industries, watching employees stream into the building for what Brandon had announced as an important company meeting. Her phone buzzed constantly with notifications, but she couldn't bring herself to look. Everything had changed since she discovered the ownership documents. Inside the building, Brandon stood before the assembled staff, his smile practiced and perfect. Maya watched through the live stream on her phone as her husband destroyed her reputation with surgical precision. I know there have been rumors about my marriage, Brandon began, his voice carrying just the right mix of sadness and determination. Maya and I are getting divorced. I want you all to hear this from me personally, because Sterling Industries is a family, and families deserve honesty, the employees murmured among themselves, but Brandon raised his hand for silence. Maya has been struggling with some personal issues lately. Her behavior has become increasingly erratic and concerning. I've tried to get her help, but she refuses treatment. Maya gripped her steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. In the span of 30 seconds, Brandon had painted her as mentally unstable to their entire workforce. I know this is difficult, Brandon continued, but I need you all to know that Sterling Industries will continue to thrive. In fact, we're about to embark on our most ambitious expansion yet, and I'm proud to announce that Jessica Thornton will be joining our executive team as Chief Marketing Officer. Jessica stepped forward, radiant in a red dress that probably cost more than most employees made in a month. She waved at the crowd like she was accepting an award, which, Maya realized, she essentially was. The live stream comments exploded as employees reacted in real time. Some expressed shock, others offered support to Brandon, and a few brave souls questioned the timing. But Maya noticed something else, several comments defending her, calling Brandon's announcement suspicious. Her phone rang. Sophia Rodriguez, her best friend since college, appeared on the screen looking furious. Maya, tell me you're watching this circus, Sophia said without preamble. She was an investigative journalist with a nose for scandal and zero tolerance for injustice. I'm watching, Maya replied, her voice steadier than she felt. This is character assassination, plain and simple. And that Jessica girl is live tweeting the whole thing like it's some kind of reality show. She just posted a selfie with the caption, "New beginnings with my love," and tagged Sterling Industries. Maya switched to social media, where Jessica's post was already going viral. 2.3 million followers were celebrating Jessica's victory over the bitter ex-wife. The comments ranged from supportive to cruel, but the narrative was clear: Maya was the villain in this story. There's more, Sophia continued. I did some digging on Jessica Thornton. She's been planning this social media campaign for months. Screenshots, videos, the whole documentation strategy. This wasn't just an affair. Maya, this was a calculated takeover. Maya felt something cold settle in her chest. Not anger that would come later. This was clarity. Sophie, I need you to investigate something for me. Look into Sterling Industries' corporate structure. Dig deep into the patent ownership and licensing agreements. Maya, are you sure you're ready for that kind of war? Because if we're going after Brandon Sterling, we need to be prepared for him to hit back twice as hard. Maya looked at the building where she had spent the last 15 years building a life that was apparently built on lies. I'm not starting a war, Sophie. I'm finishing one that Brandon started without telling me. After hanging up, Maya sat in silence, processing the magnitude of what was happening. Brandon wasn't just leaving her. He was systematically destroying her reputation to ensure she couldn't fight back. The live stream, Jessica's social media campaign, the timing of the announcement, it was all designed to isolate her and make her appear unstable. But Brandon had made one crucial mistake. He assumed Maya would react emotionally, make scenes, prove his narrative of the unstable ex-wife. Instead, she was going to do what her father had taught her, prepare methodically and strike when the moment was right. Maya started her car and drove to her father's house. Marcus Carter lived in a modest ranch home that belied his status as a retired NASA engineer and secret corporate mastermind. When she arrived, he was in his workshop, tinkering with some kind of electronic device. "Dad, we need to talk." Marcus looked up, his eyes sharp despite his 65 years. "About Brandon's little performance today, I saw the live stream. The boy always was better at talking than thinking. You knew this was coming. Sweetheart, I've been preparing for this since the day you married him. Men like Brandon Sterling don't change, they just get better at hiding who they really are." Maya pulled out the ownership documents. "Tell me everything." 2 weeks after Brandon's public announcement, Maya thought she was ready for anything. She was wrong. The FBI agents at her door at 6 in the morning were professional but thorough. Maya stood in her bathrobe, watching them systematically search her home office while news vans gathered outside. "Mrs. Sterling, we have a warrant to search for evidence of insider trading and corporate fraud," Agent Thompson explained, his voice devoid of emotion. Maya's mind raced. "There must be some mistake. I haven't been involved in any trading activities." Agent Thompson handed her a tablet showing video footage that made her blood run cold. There she was, apparently meeting with known corporate raiders, discussing confidential Sterling Industries information, and accepting envelopes of cash. "This is impossible," Maya whispered, studying the video. "I've never met these people. I've never been to this location." "Ma'am, we have multiple videos from different sources, financial records showing suspicious transactions, and witness testimony. We're going to need you to come with us for questioning." Outside, Maya could hear Jessica's voice as she live-streamed the raid to her millions of followers. "This is so crazy. You guys, the FBI is literally at Maya's house right now. I can't believe she was doing illegal stuff this whole time. Brandon must have been protecting all of us at Sterling Industries." Maya's neighbor, Mrs. Chen, stood on her porch with her phone out, recording everything. The mailman had stopped mid-delivery to watch. A helicopter circled overhead. Maya's private nightmare was becoming public entertainment. At the FBI field office, Maya sat across from Agent Thompson and his partner, Agent Martinez. They played video after video showing her apparently committing crimes she had never committed. The footage was incredibly sophisticated. Her face, her voice, her mannerisms, all perfect. "These are deep fakes," Maya said finally. "Someone used AI to superimpose my face and voice onto other people." Agent Martinez leaned forward. "Mrs. Sterling, deep fake technology requires enormous computing power and sophisticated programming. Who would have access to that kind of technology and motivation to frame you?" Maya almost laughed at the irony. "My husband's company specializes in AI defense systems. Brandon Sterling has exactly that kind of technology. Your soon-to-be ex-husband who you're divorcing. That's a serious accusation. Agent Thompson, 2 weeks ago Brandon announced our divorce on a company live stream and painted me as mentally unstable. Yesterday, Jessica Thornton, his girlfriend, posted videos mocking me to her millions of followers. Now I'm being arrested for crimes I didn't commit using technology that my husband's company developed. You tell me if that's a coincidence." But Maya could see in their eyes that the narrative was already set. Bitter ex-wife seeks revenge through corporate fraud. It was simple, believable, and exactly what Brandon had counted on. Her phone, which they had allowed her to keep for one call, buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Check the news. A friend." Maya's hands shook as she opened her browser. The headline made her stomach drop. "Sterling Industries whistleblower reveals pattern of corporate abuse." Tyler Brooks, Brandon's best friend and best man, was giving an interview to every major news outlet. Maya had known Tyler for 15 years, had considered him family. Now he was describing her as increasingly paranoid and vindictive, and claiming she had threatened to destroy Brandon's life and company. Maya became obsessed with corporate espionage, Tyler told the interviewer. She installed surveillance systems throughout Sterling Industries without authorization. When Brandon discovered her activities, she began planning her revenge. Maya realized she was watching the complete character assassination of her reputation in real time. Every relationship, every friendship, every professional connection was being systematically destroyed. Brandon hadn't just planned to steal her father's company, he had planned to make sure she could never fight back. Her phone rang. David Kim, a tech lawyer she had met at industry conferences, appeared on the screen. Maya, don't say anything else to the FBI without a lawyer present. I'm driving to the field office now. David, how did you... Your friend Sophia called me. Maya, I need you to listen carefully. These deepfake videos were created using Sterling Industries' own AI technology. I can prove it, but I need access to the source code. The FBI thinks I'm guilty of insider trading. The FBI is following evidence that was carefully manufactured, but whoever created these videos made one mistake: they used a proprietary algorithm that only exists in Sterling Industries' defense systems. We can trace the digital fingerprint back to the source. For the first time in 2 weeks, Maya felt a spark of hope, but even as David spoke, she could see Jessica's live stream playing on the field office television. 2.5 million followers were watching her tell the story of the criminal ex-wife who had finally been caught. Maya realized this wasn't just about a divorce or even a corporate takeover. This was about the complete destruction of one person to clear the path for another. Brandon wasn't just taking her father's company, he was erasing her entirely. Maya sat in the sterile hospital waiting room, still wearing the clothes she had been arrested in 12 hours earlier. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as she stared at her phone, watching her life continue to implode on social media. David Kim had managed to get her released on bail, but the damage was spreading faster than they could contain it. Her own tech company's board had called an emergency meeting to discuss her involvement in criminal activities. Former colleagues were posting on LinkedIn about their shock and disappointment. The hashtag #YeYourCriminalWife was trending nationally. Maya Carter Sterling, a doctor in scrubs, approached, her expression carefully neutral. I'm Dr. Ram Patel. Your father was brought in about an hour ago with what appears to be a massive heart attack. Maya's world tilted. Is he going to be okay? We're doing everything we can, but I need to be honest with you. The damage is extensive. The next 24 hours are critical. Maya followed Dr. Patel through the corridors, her legs moving automatically while her mind reeled. Marcus Carter had been the one constant in her life, the steady force who had prepared her for everything except losing him. In the ICU, her father looked impossibly small, connected to machines that beeped and hummed around his bed. His eyes were closed, but his breathing was steady. Maya took his hand, feeling the calluses from 65 years of building things with his mind and hands. Dad, I'm here, she whispered. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. The stress of watching Brandon destroy everything we built. Marcus's eyes fluttered open, and his fingers squeezed hers weakly. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible, but his words were clear. Not your fault, sweetheart. Brandon's true nature was always going to surface. I just didn't expect him to be this vicious. Dad, save your strength. We'll figure this out when you're better. Maya, listen to me. Marcus's grip tightened with surprising strength. The patents that built Sterling Industries, they're not just licensing agreements. I embedded kill switches in every defense system, every satellite, every communication network. Every piece of technology Brandon's company sold to the government has a backdoor. Maya leaned closer. What are you saying? If something happens to me, there's a security deposit box at First National Bank, box 4779. Everything you need is there. The real ownership documents, the patent kill switches, and one more thing Brandon doesn't know about. Dad, you're going to be fine. You're going to help me fight this. Marcus smiled, the expression both sad and proud. I already fought this fight, Maya. I spent 20 years preparing for Brandon to show his true colors. Now it's your turn. But remember, real power isn't about revenge. It's about justice. The machines around them began beeping more frantically. Dr. Patel rushed in with a team of nurses, gently but firmly moving Maya aside as they worked to stabilize Marcus. Maya stood in the hallway, watching through the window as medical professionals fought to save the only person who truly understood what was happening to her. Her phone buzzed constantly with notifications, but she couldn't bring herself to look. The outside world could wait. Sophia arrived an hour later, bringing coffee and the kind of fierce loyalty that had sustained their friendship for 20 years. How is he? Sophia asked, settling into the waiting room chair beside Maya. Critical. But Sophie, he told me something important about the patents and kill switches in the defense systems. Sophia leaned closer as Maya explained what Marcus had revealed. When Maya finished, Sophia was quiet for a long moment. Maya, if your father embedded kill switches in government defense systems, we're not just talking about corporate fraud, we're talking about national security implications. That's the point. Brandon thinks he's taking over a simple defense contracting company. He doesn't realize that every satellite, every communication system, every piece of technology Sterling Industries has sold to the military can be shut down remotely. And your father gave you the keys. Maya looked through the window at her father, still unconscious but stable. He's been preparing for this fight for 20 years, building safeguards, creating leverage, making sure that if Brandon ever showed his true nature, we would have the power to stop him. Her phone buzzed with a text from David Kim. Emergency. Tyler Brooks just released audio recordings of you allegedly threatening Brandon. Can you meet me at my office? Maya showed the text to Sophia, who swore under her breath. Maya, they're not just destroying your reputation. They're building a criminal case. Tyler has been recording conversations for who knows how long. Then let's go hear what kind of lies Brandon's best friend is willing to tell. Maya kissed her father's forehead and promised to return soon. As they left the hospital, she caught a glimpse of the news playing in the lobby. Jessica was giving another interview, this time expressing concern for Maya's father's health, while simultaneously suggesting that the stress of having a criminal daughter might have caused his heart attack. Maya realized that Brandon's strategy was more sophisticated than simple character assassination. He was systematically removing every person who might support her, isolating her completely, and positioning himself as the victim of a dangerous, unstable woman. But Marcus Carter hadn't spent 20 years preparing his daughter for defeat. He had prepared her for war. David Kim's law office felt like a fortress, but Maya knew that even fortresses could be breached. She sat across from David's desk, watching him analyze audio files on his computer, while Sophia paced behind them like a caged tiger. These recordings are sophisticated, David said, adjusting his glasses as he studied the waveform patterns. Tyler Brooks has been documenting conversations for months, maybe years. He played the first file. Maya's voice, clear and unmistakable, filled the room. I'm going to destroy Brandon Sterling. I'm going to take everything he cares about and burn it to the ground. Maya's stomach dropped. I never said that. David played another clip. Sterling Industries belongs to my family. If Brandon thinks he can steal what my father built, he's about to learn what real power looks like. That's not me, Maya insisted, but even she could hear the doubt creeping into her voice. The audio was perfect, her tone, her speech patterns, even her breathing. Sophia stopped pacing. David, can you analyze these for digital manipulation? I'm trying, but whoever created these used the same sophisticated technology as the deepfake videos. The audio signature matches Maya's voice pattern exactly. Maya leaned back in her chair, processing the implications. Tyler has been Brandon's best friend for 20 years. He's been to our house hundreds of times. He has recordings of my real voice from birthday parties, holiday dinners, casual conversations. Enough source material to train an AI to replicate your speech, David confirmed. But why Tyler? Sophia asked. What does he gain from destroying Maya? Maya remembered Tyler Brooks charming, loyal, always slightly in Brandon's shadow, despite being equally intelligent. Tyler never married, never had his own company, never stepped out of Brandon's orbit. If Brandon promised him a position in the new Sterling Industries, he becomes complicit in the takeover, David finished, and he documents everything to ensure he has leverage over both of you. David's computer chimed with an incoming email. His expression darkened as he read, Maya, Tyler Brooks just submitted these recordings to the FBI. They're being used as evidence to support the insider trading charges. Maya felt the walls closing in. The deep fake videos, the manufactured financial records, and now audio recordings of her allegedly confessing to crimes and making threats. Brandon's strategy was becoming clear: create so much fabricated evidence that the truth became irrelevant. There's something else, David continued. Tyler is claiming that you installed surveillance equipment in his apartment to spy on him and Brandon. He says you've been obsessed with destroying their friendship for years. Sophia slammed her hand on the desk. This is insane. Maya, we need to go public with what we know about the deep fakes and the corporate ownership structure. Sophie, who's going to believe us I'm the bitter ex-wife with a history of mental instability? Remember Tyler is the concerned friend protecting his buddy from a dangerous woman? Maya's phone buzzed with a call from the hospital. Dr. Patel's voice was gentle but serious. Ms. Carter Sterling, your father is asking for you. His condition has stabilized, but he wants to speak with you urgently. 20 minutes later, Maya sat beside her father's bed while Marcus spoke in a voice that was weak but determined. Maya, I need to tell you something about Tyler Brooks. He's not just Brandon's friend. He's been feeding information to Brandon about our family for years. What do you mean? Tyler works for a private investigation firm that specializes in corporate intelligence. Brandon hired him 5 years ago to monitor our family's financial activities and document anything that could be used as leverage. Maya felt like she was falling through space. Tyler has been spying on us for 5 years. Every family dinner, every casual conversation, every moment Tyler spent in our home was intelligence gathering. The recordings he's releasing aren't fabrications. Maya, they're real conversations taken completely out of context. Marcus reached into his bedside table and pulled out a small device. But Tyler doesn't know that I've been recording him too. Maya stared at the device. Dad, what is this? For the last 3 years, every time Tyler visited our home, this device recorded his conversations with Brandon. Real conversations. Maya, about their plan to drive you out of Sterling Industries, about the timeline for the divorce, about Jessica's role in the social media campaign. Maya's hands shook as she took the device. You've known about all of this for 3 years. I suspected. Tyler's questions were too specific, too focused on our family's business interests. So I started documenting everything, just like he was. Why didn't you tell me? Marcus smiled sadly. Because I needed you to be genuine. If you had known about Brandon's betrayal, you might have acted differently, and Tyler would have detected the change. I needed him to believe his plan was working perfectly. Maya realized her father had been playing a chess game for years while everyone else thought they were playing checkers. What's on these recordings? Dad, everything, sweetheart, their real timeline, their financial arrangements, their backup plans if you fought back, and most importantly, Tyler admitting that he's been creating fabricated evidence using Sterling Industries' AI technology. Maya kissed her father's forehead. You magnificent, sneaky genius. Maya, there's one more thing. The wedding is tomorrow. What wedding? Brandon and Jessica. They moved up the timeline because of the FBI investigation. They want to be married before any more evidence comes to light. Maya stared at her father. They're getting married while I'm facing federal charges. It's the perfect narrative conclusion. The villain gets justice, the hero gets his reward, and everyone lives happily ever after. Maya stood up, feeling something she hadn't felt in weeks, clarity. Dad, what's in that security deposit box? Marcus smiled, and for a moment he looked like the brilliant NASA engineer who had outmaneuvered government bureaucrats for 30 years. Your inheritance, sweetheart, and Brandon Sterling's worst nightmare. First National Bank was unusually busy for a Saturday morning, but Maya supposed that people often conducted their most important business on weekends. She sat in the customer service area, waiting for the manager to retrieve the contents of box 4779, while David and Sophia flanked her like bodyguards. The manager, Mrs. Patterson, returned with a large metal box and led them to a private room. Take all the time you need, Ms. Carter Sterling. Maya's hands shook as she opened the box. Inside were documents that would have looked routine to anyone else's stock certificates, patent filings, legal agreements. But Maya recognized them for what they really were, the complete blueprint for her father's 20-year strategy. The first document was a stock ownership summary showing that Marcus Carter, through a web of trusts and shell companies, owned 52.3% of Sterling Industries. But the second document made Maya's breath catch. David, look at this. David read over her shoulder, his lawyer's mind processing the implications faster than Maya's engineer brain. Maya, this isn't just stock ownership. Your father structured this as a hostile takeover defense mechanism. What does that mean? It means that if anyone attempts to acquire Sterling Industries through fraudulent means, like forcing out the legal owner through false criminal charges, All the patents revert to the Carter family trust, and all licensing agreements become immediately void. Sophia leaned in. So if Brandon tries to steal the company, he gets an empty shell, Maya finished. The technology that makes Sterling Industries valuable disappears. The third document was even more sophisticated. Marcus had embedded termination clauses in every government contract Sterling Industries held. If the company changed ownership under specific circumstances, including the criminal prosecution of family members, all defense contracts would be immediately canceled. Your father was a strategic genius, David said, shaking his head in admiration. He built a corporate structure that makes stealing the company literally impossible. But the final document in the box made Maya understand the true scope of her father's planning. It was a detailed dossier on Tyler Brooks, complete with financial records, employment history, and recorded conversations going back 5 years. Tyler Brooks has been in debt to gambling syndicates for 7 years, Maya read aloud. Brandon Sterling paid off Tyler's debts in exchange for intelligence on the Carter family and fabricated evidence for potential future legal proceedings. David whistled low. This is conspiracy to commit fraud, obstruction of justice, and extortion. Maya found a USB drive labeled Tyler's insurance policy and plugged it into David's laptop. The first video file showed Tyler and Brandon in Brandon's office, discussing their timeline for destroying Maya's reputation. The deep fake videos need to be perfect. Brandon's voice was clear and unmistakable. If Maya can prove they're fabricated, our entire strategy falls apart. Tyler nodded. The AI team finished the final renders yesterday. The FBI will receive anonymous tips about her financial activities on Monday, and the videos will surface on Tuesday. And the audio recordings, 3 years of source material. I can make Maya sound like she's confessing to anything you want. Maya felt sick watching Tyler betray 15 years of friendship with such casual efficiency. But Brandon's next words made her blood run cold. What about her father Marcus is the real threat? If he gets involved, the heart medication I've been putting in his coffee should take care of that problem within the next few weeks. Maya's world stopped. They poisoned my father. David immediately started recording the screen. Maya, this is evidence of attempted murder. Sophia was already on her phone. I'm calling the FBI and the hospital. If they've been poisoning Marcus. Maya continued watching, her horror growing with each revelation. Brandon and Tyler had planned every detail, the timing of the affair revelation, Jessica's social media campaign, the fabricated evidence, even Marcus's heart attack. The beauty of this plan, Brandon said on the recording, is that everyone will see exactly what we want them to see. A bitter ex-wife seeking revenge against her successful husband. It's the oldest story in the world. Tyler laughed. And Jessica's followers eat this stuff up. They love a good villain to hate. Just make sure Maya is completely isolated before we move to the final phase. No allies, no resources, no credibility. When we're done, no one will believe anything she says. Maya ejected the USB drive, her hands steady for the first time in weeks. David, how quickly can we get this evidence to the FBI? I can have Agent Thompson here within an hour. Good, and Sophie, I need you to write the story of a lifetime. Sophia grinned. Already working on it. But Maya, what are you planning? Maya looked at the wedding invitation she had found in the box, Brandon and Jessica's wedding at the Sterling Industries corporate campus, with a guest list that included government officials, industry leaders, and media personalities. The event was being live-streamed to Jessica's millions of followers as the wedding of the year. I'm going to a wedding, Maya said, and I'm going to give a speech that Brandon Sterling will never forget. David looked concerned. Maya, if you confront them publicly, you could compromise the FBI investigation. David, my father spent 20 years building safeguards to protect our family's legacy. Tyler and Brandon spent 5 years planning to destroy it, and tomorrow, they're going to celebrate their victory while my father lies in a hospital bed, recovering from poisoning. Maya gathered the documents and USB drives. I'm not going to confront them. I'm going to let them destroy themselves. As they left the bank, Maya felt the weight of her father's strategy settling on her shoulders. Marcus Carter had prepared her for this moment without her even knowing it. Every lesson about patience, preparation, and strategic thinking had been building toward tomorrow. Brandon Sterling thought he was marrying his prize and claiming his victory. But Maya was about to show him that some prizes come with a price he could never afford to pay. Maya stood in the back of the Sterling Industries atrium, watching Brandon and Jessica exchange vows in front of 300 guests and 2.8 million live stream viewers. She wore a simple black dress that could be interpreted as either mourning attire or elegant understatement, and she had arrived early enough to ensure the AV technician, David's contact, had prepared everything they needed. The venue was stunning. Jessica had transformed the corporate space into a fairy tale setting, complete with crystal chandeliers and white rose arrangements that probably cost more than most people's cars. Every detail was perfect for social media, from the lighting to the camera angles to the hashtag Shocker's Sterling Love Story displayed prominently behind the altar. Brandon looked confident and handsome in his tuxedo, playing the role of the successful CEO who had overcome adversity to find true love. Jessica was radiant in a dress that had undoubtedly been featured in multiple social media posts leading up to the event. They looked like the perfect power couple, celebrating their triumph over the bitter ex-wife who had finally been neutralized. "Dearly beloved," the officiant began, "we are gathered here today to witness the union of Brandon Sterling and Jessica Thornton in marriage." Maya scanned the crowd, recognizing faces from the business world, government officials who held Sterling Industries contracts, and social media influencers who would amplify Jessica's narrative to millions of followers. Everyone who mattered in Brandon's world was here to validate his victory. Tyler Brooks stood beside Brandon as best man, occasionally glancing around the room with the paranoid awareness of someone who had spent years orchestrating deception. He looked confident, but Maya noticed the way his hand kept moving to his pocket, checking for the recording device that had been his security blanket for so long. "Brandon," the officiant continued, "do you take Jessica to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, for better or worse, until death do you part?" "I do," Brandon replied, his voice carrying across the atrium with practiced confidence. Maya thought about her father, still in the hospital but stable enough to watch the live stream from his bed. Marcus had insisted that she go through with the plan, even though it meant watching the man who had poisoned him celebrate his apparent victory. "Jessica, do you take Brandon to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Maya checked her phone. David was in position with the FBI agents, ready to serve warrants the moment she gave the signal. Sophia was at the hospital with Marcus, documenting everything for the story that would break within hours. The bank had confirmed that all the ownership transfers were legally binding and irrevocable. "I do," Jessica said, beaming at her millions of viewers as she became Mrs. Brandon Sterling. "By the power vested in me by the state, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." The crowd erupted in applause as Brandon and Jessica kissed, sealing their union and, from their perspective, Brandon's complete control over Sterling Industries. The live stream comments exploded with heart emojis and congratulations from followers who had been invested in their love story for months. "Ladies and gentlemen," the officiant announced, "I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Brandon Sterling." The couple walked down the aisle as their wedding party followed, accepting congratulations and posing for photos. Maya waited in the back, invisible to the celebration, until the crowd moved toward the reception area where Brandon would give his traditional groom speech. The reception setup was even more elaborate than the ceremony. A head table faced the crowd, with microphones and cameras positioned to capture every moment for Jessica's social media empire. Waiters circulated with champagne, while a string quartet played softly in the background. Brandon stood at the microphone, his smile confident and warm. "Thank you all for being here to celebrate this incredible day with Jessica and me." Maya moved closer, positioning herself within striking distance of the microphone system. "Many of you know that this hasn't been an easy year for me personally," Brandon continued. "I've had to make some difficult decisions about my marriage, my family, and my company. But sometimes, life forces us to choose between the past and the future." The crowd murmured approvingly as Jessica gazed adoringly at her new husband. "I'm grateful that Jessica stood by me during the challenging times, especially when certain people tried to use lies and manipulation to destroy what we've built together." Maya felt the crowd's attention shift slightly. Some guests glanced around, looking for signs of the unstable ex-wife, who might cause a scene. "But today isn't about the past," Brandon said, his voice gaining strength. Today is about the future of Sterling Industries, about the incredible team we've built, and about the woman who will help me lead this company to even greater heights. He raised his champagne glass. To Jessica Sterling, my partner in love and business. The crowd raised their glasses in response, but Maya noticed that several guests looked uncomfortable with the obvious mixing of personal and professional power. Brandon handed the microphone to Jessica, who accepted it with practiced grace. Thank you all for being part of our love story, Jessica began, her influencer training evident in her perfect delivery. When Brandon and I first connected, I knew we were meant to build something beautiful together. Maya watched Jessica's followers react in real time on the livestream comments, completely invested in the narrative of true love triumphing over adversity. Some people tried to tear us apart, Jessica continued, but real love always wins in the end. And now, as the new Mrs. Sterling, I'm excited to help Brandon take Sterling Industries to the next level. The crowd applauded, but Maya noticed several government officials exchanging glances. Jessica had just announced her intention to be involved in a defense contracting company, which raised potential security clearance issues. But most importantly, Jessica said, building to her climax, I want to thank everyone who supported us when certain people tried to spread lies and cause trouble. Your loyalty means everything to us. Maya stepped forward, her movement barely noticeable in the crowd of 300 people. But the AV technician saw her signal and prepared to execute David's plan. Now, Jessica announced, I'd like to invite anyone who wants to share their congratulations to come up and say a few words. Several guests approached the microphone, offering traditional wedding toasts and business platitudes. Maya waded through 3 speeches, allowing the moment to build naturally. Finally, she stepped forward. The crowd parted automatically, some guests recognizing her with shock, others simply making way for another well-wisher. Maya reached the microphone as Jessica's expression shifted from confident to horrified. Thank you, Maya said, her voice calm and clear as it carried across the atrium and into the live stream reaching millions of viewers. I have a few words to share about love, loyalty, and what it really means to build something together. Brandon's face went white as he realized that his carefully controlled narrative was about to be shattered by the one person he thought he had successfully silenced. Maya Carter Sterling stood at the microphone, looking out over 300 wedding guests and millions of livestream viewers. The atrium fell silent except for the soft hum of recording equipment and the distant sound of champagne glasses being set down on tables. Hello, everyone, Maya began, her voice steady and warm. For those who don't know me, I'm Maya Carter Sterling, Brandon's ex-wife. The crowd stirred uncomfortably. Jessica's face went from confusion to panic as she realized she couldn't cut the live stream without looking guilty. Tyler Brooks started moving toward the microphone, but Maya raised her hand. Please, let me finish. I promise this will be educational for everyone. Maya pulled out her phone, connecting it to the AV system that David's contact had prepared. I want to start by congratulating Brandon and Jessica on their beautiful wedding. Jessica, that dress is stunning, and Brandon, you look very handsome in your tuxedo. The crowd relaxed slightly, expecting a gracious concession speech from the defeated ex-wife. I also want to thank everyone for being here to witness this historic moment, because what you're about to see is indeed historic, the first time in corporate history that a majority shareholder has attended the wedding of the people who tried to steal her company. The silence in the room became absolute. Maya could see understanding dawning on faces throughout the crowd as her words sank in. You see, Brandon, you made one crucial mistake in your 5-year plan to destroy my family and steal our company. You assumed that my father, Marcus Carter, was just a retired NASA engineer who handed over control of his business to his son-in-law. Maya activated her phone, and the first document appeared on the screens throughout the atrium stock ownership records showing the Carter Family Trust's 52.3% controlling stake in Sterling Industries. The truth is that my father never sold Sterling Industries to you, Brandon. He licensed the technology, the patents, and the manufacturing rights, but ownership has always remained with the Carter family. Brandon found his voice. Maya, this is neither the time nor the place. Actually, Brandon, this is exactly the time and place, because in approximately 10 minutes, when I activate the kill switches embedded in every piece of technology Sterling Industries has sold to the U.S. government, you're going to discover what happens when you try to steal a company built on classified NASA patents. Maya clicked to the next screen, showing patent documentation and licensing agreements. Every satellite communication system, every defense network, every piece of military technology that made Sterling Industries profitable was built in my father's patents. Patents that include remote deactivation capabilities for national security purposes. Government officials in the crowd began pulling out their phones, frantically making calls as they realized the implications of what Maya was revealing. But let's talk about love and loyalty. Since this is a wedding, Maya continued, her tone conversational despite the chaos beginning to erupt around her. Tyler Brooks, Brandon's best man, would you like to explain to everyone how you've been recording private conversations and creating deepfake videos for the past 5 years? Maya clicked to the next screen, and Tyler's voice filled the atrium. The deepfake videos need to be perfect. If Maya can prove they're fabricated, our entire strategy falls apart. Tyler bolted toward the exit, but FBI agents were already blocking the doors. Agent Thompson stepped forward, badge visible, as Maya continued her presentation. Or perhaps you'd like to hear about the romantic timeline of Brandon and Jessica's relationship. Maya clicked again, and Brandon's voice played over the sound system. The prenup runs out next month. After the divorce, I'll have full control of Sterling Industries, and you'll be the new Mrs. Sterling. Jessica's live stream comments exploded as her followers realized they had been following a calculated corporate takeover disguised as a love story. And my personal favorite, Maya said, her voice hardening for the first time. Tyler and Brandon discussing how to handle my father's inconvenient knowledge of their plan. Tyler's voice filled the room. The heart medication I've been putting in his coffee should take care of that problem within the next few weeks. The crowd gasped audibly. Several guests stepped away from the head table as FBI agents moved forward to arrest Tyler and Brandon. So let me be absolutely clear about what's happening right now, Maya said, her voice carrying over the chaos. Sterling Industries is and has always been owned by the Carter family. Every government contract, every defense system, every dollar of profit was built on technology that belongs to us. Maya clicked to her final screen, showing termination notices for every government contract Sterling Industries held. As of this moment, all licensing agreements for Carter family patents are terminated. All government contracts are voided due to attempted fraudulent ownership transfer, and all defense systems sold by Sterling Industries are being remotely deactivated for national security reasons. She looked directly at Brandon, who stood frozen as FBI agents approached with handcuffs. You wanted to know what real power looks like. Brandon Real Power is spending 20 years building safeguards that make stealing impossible. Real power is knowing that every system you sold to the government has a backdoor that only the patent holder can access. Maya paused as the magnitude of what she was revealing sank in throughout the atrium. The United States military is about to lose access to approximately $50 billion worth of defense technology because two men thought they could poison an old man and frame his daughter for crimes she didn't commit. Agent Thompson reached Brandon as Maya delivered her final line. Oh, and Jessica, your followers might want to know that they've been supporting a criminal conspiracy for the past 2 years. But don't worry, I'm sure this will be great content for your next live stream. Maya stepped away from the microphone as chaos erupted throughout the atrium. FBI agents arrested Brandon and Tyler while government officials shouted into their phones about the defense system shutdowns. Wedding guests fled toward the exits, and Jessica stood frozen at the head table, watching her social media empire collapse in real time. Maya walked calmly through the chaos, heading toward the exit where David waited with additional FBI agents and a team of Pentagon officials who would need to coordinate the massive task of replacing the deactivated defense systems. As she reached the door, Maya turned back for one last look at Brandon Sterling's wedding reception. The man who had spent 5 years planning to steal her father's company was being read his rights while his new wife tried to explain to millions of followers why their fairy tale love story had just become a federal criminal case. Maya Carter Sterling had kept her promise to her father. She had protected their family's legacy, exposed the truth, and delivered justice to the people who had tried to destroy them. But most importantly, she had done it all without becoming the villain in someone else's story. 6 months later, Maya sat in her father's workshop, watching him tinker with a new invention while the morning news played in the background. Marcus had made a full recovery after doctors purged the slow-acting poison from his system, and the FBI's investigation had revealed the complete scope of Brandon and Tyler's conspiracy. The Sterling Industries fraud case concluded yesterday with the sentencing of former CEO Brandon Sterling to 15 years in federal prison, the news anchor announced. Sterling was convicted on charges including corporate fraud, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit espionage. Maya smiled, remembering the look on Brandon's face when he realized that his perfect plan had been documented, recorded, and systematically dismantled by the father and daughter he had underestimated. Tyler Brooks, Sterling's accomplice, received a 12-year sentence for his role in creating fabricated evidence and administering poison to NASA engineer Marcus Carter. The reporter continued, "The case has raised significant questions about the security of defense contractor oversight and the potential for AI technology to be used in corporate fraud schemes." Marcus looked up from his workbench. "Any regrets, sweetheart?" Maya considered the question seriously. 6 months ago, she had been facing federal charges, bankruptcy, and complete social isolation. Today, she was the CEO of Carter Defense Technologies, the reformed company that had taken over Sterling Industries' government contracts with proper oversight and ethical leadership. "Only one," Maya replied. "I wish you had told me sooner what you suspected about Brandon. If I had told you, you might have acted differently. Brandon and Tyler were watching for any sign that their plan was compromised. They needed to believe they were succeeding." Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Sophia, who had won a Pulitzer Prize for her investigation into corporate fraud and AI manipulation in the Sterling Industries case. The text included a link to Jessica's latest social media post. Jessica Thornton Sterling had lost her influencer status overnight when her followers discovered they had been supporting a criminal conspiracy. Her Instagram account, once followed by millions, now had fewer than 50,000 followers, mostly people fascinated by the spectacle of her downfall. "Look at this." Maya showed her father Jessica's post, which showed her working at a coffee shop with the caption, "Learning that real success comes from honest work, not manufactured fame. Thank you to everyone who has supported my journey toward authenticity." Marcus chuckled. "At least she's learning something from this experience." "Dad, can I ask you something? When did you first suspect Brandon wasn't who he pretended to be?" Marcus set down his tools and turned to face Maya. "The day you brought him home to meet me, 15 years ago. He asked too many questions about the wrong things." "What do you mean?" "He wanted to know about patents, licensing agreements, and government contracts. Normal people ask about your interests, your family, your hopes for your daughter. Brandon asked about intellectual property rights." Maya realized her father had been protecting her for 15 years, watching and waiting for Brandon to reveal his true nature while preparing for the inevitable confrontation. "Why didn't you just refuse to let him into the company?" "Because that would have driven him away temporarily, not exposed his true character. I needed him to commit fully to his plan so we could document everything and ensure he faced real consequences." Maya's laptop chimed with a notification from the video conference system. David Kim appeared on the screen, calling from his new position as General Counsel for Carter Defense Technologies. "Maya, I have news about the Pentagon contracts. They want to expand our partnership for the next generation of satellite communication systems. Based on Dad's new patents." "Based on your new patents," David corrected. "Maya, the work you've done integrating AI security with defense systems is revolutionizing the industry. The Pentagon wants Carter Defense Technologies to lead the development of the next generation cybersecurity infrastructure." Maya looked at her father, who was beaming with pride. 6 months ago, she had been painted as a criminal and a failure. Today, she was being asked to help protect national security using technology she had developed while rebuilding from the ashes of Brandon's betrayal. "There's one more thing," David continued. "The Justice Department wants to use your experience with deep fake detection and AI manipulation as the basis for new federal legislation. They're calling it the Carter Act." Maya felt a wave of emotion wash over her. Her name, which had been destroyed and dragged through the mud by Brandon's campaign of lies, was now going to be associated with protecting other people from the same kind of technological manipulation she had survived. "Dad, what do you think?" Marcus Carter, the NASA engineer who had spent 20 years planning for this moment, smiled at his daughter. "I think the best revenge is a life well lived. Sweetheart, And you're just getting started. Maya looked around the workshop where her father had built the foundation for everything they had accomplished. The walls were covered with patents, awards, and photographs spanning 40 years of innovation and service. But the newest addition was a framed newspaper article with the headline, "Carter Defense Technologies Announces Revolutionary AI Security System." The byline read, "By Maya Carter Sterling, CEO and Chief Innovation Officer." Maya realized that Brandon had been right about one thing: this story was about power. But real power wasn't about destroying others or stealing what they had built. Real power was about creating something valuable, protecting the people you love, and using your abilities to make the world a little bit better. She had learned that lesson from the best teacher possible, a father who had spent 20 years preparing her for a fight she didn't even know was coming, and who had given her all the tools she needed to win. 1 year after the wedding that became a federal crime scene, Maya stood on the stage of the TED conference in Vancouver, looking out at an audience of 2,000 innovators, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. The red circle beneath her feet felt like a symbol of how far she had traveled from the woman who had discovered her husband's betrayal through a surveillance system. 18 months ago, I thought I knew what power meant, Maya began, her voice carrying clearly through the auditorium. I thought power was about control, about having the right information, about being able to predict and prevent bad things from happening. The audience was silent, attentive. Maya's story had become legendary in business and technology circles, the woman who had survived a sophisticated frame job and emerged stronger than ever. I was wrong. Real power isn't about control. It's about resilience. It's about building systems that can survive betrayal, expose lies, and protect the people who depend on you. Maya clicked to her first slide, showing the growth of Carter Defense Technologies over the past year. The company now employed over 500 people and held contracts worth more than $2 billion. When my father built the patents that became the foundation of our defense technology, he wasn't just creating products, he was creating accountability. Every system we build includes transparency mechanisms, kill switches for emergencies, and protections against misuse. She clicked to the next slide, showing statistics about AI-generated fraud and deepfake technology. The technology that was used to frame me is now being used against thousands of people every year. Deepfake videos, fabricated audio recordings, and manipulated financial records are becoming weapons in divorce courts, corporate takeovers, and political campaigns. Maya paused, remembering the isolation and desperation she had felt when the fabricated evidence first surfaced. But here's what I learned from surviving that experience. The same technology that can be used to destroy people can also be used to protect them. At Carter Defense Technologies, we've developed AI systems that can detect digital manipulation with 99.7% accuracy. The audience applauded, but Maya raised her hand for silence. More importantly, we've open-sourced that technology. Anyone facing fabricated evidence in court, anyone being targeted by deepfake harassment, anyone whose reputation is being destroyed by digital lies can now access the tools they need to prove the truth. Maya clicked to her final slide, showing the Maya Carter Foundation logo. The foundation we launched 6 months ago has already helped over 3,000 people expose fabricated evidence in legal proceedings. We've prevented dozens of wrongful convictions, protected families from financial fraud, and given people back their reputations and their lives. She looked out at the audience, many of whom were taking notes or recording her speech. But the most important thing I've learned is this: real power isn't about having control over other people. Real power is about building systems that give other people control over their own lives. Maya stepped away from the podium, and the audience erupted in sustained applause. As she walked off stage, she felt her phone buzz with a text from her father. "Proud of you, sweetheart. Mom would be too." In the green room, David Kim was waiting with updates from the office. "Maya, the Pentagon just approved our proposal for the next generation cybersecurity contract. It's the largest defense technology deal in Carter family history." Maya smiled, but her attention was focused on another message on her phone. Sophia had sent a link to a news article. Former Sterling Industries marketing executive completes court-ordered community service. The article included a photo of Jessica working with a nonprofit organization that helped domestic violence survivors document evidence of abuse. According to the article, Jessica had become an advocate for victims of technological manipulation. using her experience with social media to help people rebuild their online reputations after abuse. How do you feel about that? David asked, reading over Maya's shoulder. Maya considered the question. A year ago, she might have felt anger or resentment toward Jessica. Today, she felt something different. I think people can change if they are willing to do the work, Maya replied. Jessica made terrible choices, but she's facing the consequences and trying to make amends. That takes courage. Maya's phone rang with a call from Marcus, who was at the hospital visiting his weekly volunteer shift with veterans recovering from service-related injuries. Maya, you need to see this. Her father's voice was excited. One of the veterans here just showed me a video of your TED Talk. It's already got over 1 million views, and the comments are incredible. Maya pulled up the video on her phone, scrolling through hundreds of comments from people sharing their own stories of technological manipulation and thanking her for providing tools to fight back. Dad, do you remember what you told me about real power being invisible? I do. I think I finally understand what you meant. The most powerful thing we can do is create systems that help other people solve their own problems. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Your mother would have been so proud of the woman you become. Maya, not because of the company or the contracts or the recognition, because you chose to use your talents to help people instead of seeking revenge against the people who hurt you. After hanging up, Maya walked to the hotel window overlooking Vancouver's harbor. In the distance, she could see cargo ships and fishing boats going about their daily business, part of the vast network of global commerce and human activity that most people never thought about. Maya realized that true power was like those ships quietly moving essential things from one place to another, creating value without fanfare, building the infrastructure that allowed everything else to function. Brandon Sterling had sought power through destruction and manipulation. He had ended up in federal prison, his reputation destroyed, his company dissolved. Maya had sought power through creation and protection. She had ended up leading a company that employed hundreds of people, protected national security, and gave victims of technological abuse the tools they needed to fight back. The difference wasn't just in their methods, it was in their understanding of what power actually meant. As Maya prepared to fly home to her father, her company, and the work that was just beginning, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years, complete clarity about who she was and what she was meant to do. Maya Carter Sterling had survived betrayal, overcome conspiracy, and emerged stronger than ever. But more importantly, she had learned to use her strength to build something bigger than herself, something that would continue protecting people long after she was gone. Her father had spent 20 years preparing her for a single battle. Maya was spending her life building systems that would help other people win their own battles. That, she realized, was what real power looked like.